On June 27, 2016, in the diamond city of Surat, Gujarat, the Jariwala family lived in flat No. 55A in the Surgeon Society area of Pearl Point. Dishiit Jariwala was considered one of Surat's largest textile businessmen, owning a textile unit in a place called Katargan. At the age of 26, Dishiit had already reached a considerable level of success. He was married, and his wife's name was Velsai. They had a 1.5-year-old daughter. Life seemed to be going well for Dishiit until the evening of June 27, 2016. That evening, Dishiit, along with his wife Velsai and daughter, went to a relative's house in Surat for dinner. After dinner, around 9:04 p.m., the family returned home. Dishiit parked the car in the parking area on the ground floor, and then they all went to the first floor where their flat was located. Upon reaching the flat, Dishiit told his wife that he had left the parking lights on and would go downstairs to switch them off. He went down but didn't return after quite some time. Velsai called out to him, to which he replied that he was coming. However, after 10 minutes passed with no sign of him, Velsai decided to put her daughter to sleep and go downstairs to check. As soon as she opened the door, she was shocked to see 3 masked men wearing gloves, holding a knife to Dishiit's throat and bringing him upstairs. Terrified, Velsai watched as the men took Dishiit into their bedroom. One man stood over Dishiit with the knife to his throat, while the other 2 started looting the house. They stole valuable items, cash, and jewelry. Since Velsai had also been to the dinner with relatives, she was wearing quite a bit of jewelry herself. The robbers removed her jewelry and told her to take her daughter and go into the bathroom. Velsai complied, took her daughter, and went into the bathroom, after which the robbers locked the door from the outside. After being locked in the bathroom for several hours, Velsai sensed that the robbers might have left since no sounds were coming from outside. Around 11:30 p.m., she broke the bathroom's glass window and started screaming for help. Neighbors, who were familiar with the Jariwala family, heard her cries and rushed to the flat. They found all the doors open. Upon reaching the first-floor bedroom, they saw Dishiit lying on the bed with blood everywhere, and the house was completely ransacked. The neighbors immediately informed the police, who arrived shortly afterward. The police noted that the house was in complete disarray, with all the cupboards open and even safes broken into, making it appear like a robbery. They sent Dishiit's body for a postmortem and filed a murder case against unknown individuals, starting their investigation. Since Dishiit was a well-known businessman in Surat, news of his murder spread throughout the area by morning. Reporters and many traders began visiting the house, while the police continued their investigation. At the time, only 3 people were present in the house. Dishiit, who had been murdered, Velsai, who had been crying uncontrollably and fainting intermittently, and their 1.5-year-old daughter, who was too young to explain what had happened. Velsai was the only witness who could shed light on the events of that night, but she was in no state to be questioned. The police decided to wait until her condition improved before speaking with her. Although Dishiit's parents also lived with them, they were on vacation in Mauritius at the time of the incident. The police questioned the neighbors, but they had no idea what had transpired in the Jariwala household. The police then checked the CCTV cameras in the vicinity and made an important discovery. The robbers were captured on a neighbor's camera, showing that Dishiit had returned home in his car at 9:46 p.m., followed by an auto rickshaw that stopped shortly afterward. After Dishiit's car entered the building, the auto made a U-turn and left, but 2 men were seen walking toward Dishiit's house, with one carrying a bag. These men entered the house between 9:46 and 9:50 p.m., and at 11:30 p.m., the same car that Dishiit had driven home was seen leaving the house. Since Dishiit had been killed by that time, it was clear that the robbers had used the car to flee. As the days passed and things calmed down, the police returned to the house to question Velsai, who had started to recover. She recounted the same story. They had returned from a dinner at a relative's house, and when Dishiit went to turn off the parking lights, 3 robbers had forced their way in, looted the house, and locked her and her daughter in the bathroom. However, during their inquiries with relatives and neighbors, the police uncovered several strange facts. First, there were no relatives of Dishiit in Surat that night. Furthermore, his parents were out of the country. This raised the question, did the robbers know beforehand that Dishiit's close family wasn't in the city, or was it just a coincidence? The police suspected that someone close to the family might have been involved. They focused their investigation on the people with whom Dishiit and Velsai had gone for dinner that night, as they might have had a hand in the crime. The robbers had stolen all the jewelry and about rupee 55 zizan in cash, so those individuals were questioned. However, no links between them and the robbers were found. Despite this, the police still suspected that someone close to the family might have been involved. There was someone close involved because no outsider could have known the timing so perfectly. Here, 25-year-old Velsai, who had been married for only 3 years, saw her entire life shattered in one night she became a widow. On the other hand, the police were under a lot of pressure, as Dishiit's relatives were not ordinary people. They had connections with many influential individuals. They were also putting pressure on the police, and the case was all over the media. The police questioned everyone from Dishiit's household staff to his driver, the workers in his factory, and his friends, but no one seemed to have any enmity with Dishiit. All the doors and the gate of the house were completely secure, meaning none of them had been broken, and there was no evidence of forced entry. This suggested that someone inside or someone known to Dishiit had helped the intruders. If someone had been an enemy, they wouldn't have taken Dishiit upstairs with a knife to his throat. They would have killed him right in the parking lot and fled. And if the culprits had come to rob, they would have been concerned that there might be others in the house besides Dishiit. But that wasn't the case. They knew exactly who and how many people were in the house at that time. Seeing all of this, the police started suspecting someone from the household had been involved. And after the murder, they had made it look like a robbery. Because if it was indeed a robbery, why would they kill Dishiit? And if killing was part of their plan, why did they spare Velsai and her child when they knew she could testify against them? And most importantly, although the culprits had stolen all the jewelry and cash from the house, according to the doctors, when they saw Dishiit's body at the hospital, he was still wearing a gold chain around his neck, a gold bracelet, a ring, and an expensive watch. Also, the wallet found in Dishiit's pants had several ATM cards in it. So, if the culprits were there to rob, why didn't they take these items? Velsai, meanwhile, was devastated, crying uncontrollably, and the neighbors started to feel sorry for her because her life had fallen apart at such a young age. After this, the police began a fresh investigation based on Velsai's statement. She had said that Dishiit went downstairs from the first floor to the ground floor to turn off the parking area light. But when the police verified this, they found that there was a switch for the parking area light on the first floor as well, meaning Dishiit could have turned off the light from there. There was no need for him to go downstairs. The police also noticed another discrepancy. Velsai had said there were 3 culprits in the house at the time, but the CCTV footage only showed 2. This meant Velsai had lied again. She also claimed that the culprits had dragged Dishiit upstairs after beating him downstairs, but something didn't add up. Dishiit wore glasses, and based on Velsai's explanation, his glasses should have fallen off either on the ground floor or on the stairs. However, when the police arrived at the scene and saw Dishiit's body, he was still wearing his glasses, and they were perfectly intact. According to the post-mortem, Dishiit had been stabbed about 8 times between his head and waist, and his throat had also been slit. But the question still remained, if someone hated Dishiit so much, why did they spare his wife? The evidence pointed to the fact that the culprits had entered the house easily, without any forced entry. After more than 60 hours of investigation, the police started suspecting Dishiit's wife, Velsai. The woman who had been crying non-stop for the past 2 days was now called to the police station and interrogated strictly. Initially, Velsai denied all the accusations, asking why she would do such a thing, as everything was fine in their house, and they even had a 1.5-year-old daughter. Velsai said that she and her husband never fought, and she had no issues with her in-laws. But when the police presented all the evidence they had uncovered during the investigation, Velsai eventually broke down within a few hours and confessed to having Dishiit killed. During interrogation, Velsai revealed that on the night of June 27, 2016, after they returned home, they went to the first floor. Once inside, Velsai handed the baby to Dishiit and told him she would lock the door. Dishiit took the baby to the bedroom to put her to sleep. Meanwhile, Velsai closed the door but did not lock it, according to CCTV footage. In 1946, Dishiit reached home with his family. Around 1948, 2 robbers entered the house, heading straight to the bedroom, where they attacked Dishiit immediately. Velsi witnessed her husband being killed right in front of her eyes. The attackers came well prepared, wearing gloves and masks, and carried chili powder in their bag. Dishiit didn't even get a chance to resist. After killing Dishiit, Velsi removed all her jewelry and handed it to the attackers. She also gave them all the valuables and rupee 55 citizens from the house locker, even helping them scatter the household items to mislead the police, making it appear as a robbery rather than a murder. However, in her panic, Velsi forgot to remove the jewelry Dishiit was still wearing. Once they had finished disrupting the house, Velsi handed over the keys to her husband's car to the attackers. She then went to the bathroom and asked the attackers to lock her in from the outside. At around 11:30 p.m., the robbers fled in Dishiit's car. Later, the police found the car on Dumas Road, and based on Velsi's statement, the attackers were arrested. The main accused were Suketu Modi alias Sunny and his driver Dayendra Singh Chauhan. The big question remained, what relationship did Velsi have with these attackers that led them to conspire and kill Dishiit together? The story began before Velsi and Dishiit's marriage. Velsi and Suketu were deeply in love, but could not marry because they were distant relatives, essentially cousins. Despite discussions with their families, marriage was not possible. Fearing Velsi might elope, her family hastily arranged her marriage with Dishiit in January 2013. The wedding was grand, and her family believed that marriage would make her forget her past relationship, which seemed to happen initially. Velsi grew fond of her new life, and the couple even had a daughter. Dishiit loved his wife deeply, and Velsi was managing the household well. Nearly 2.5 years passed uneventfully until early 2016, when Velsi and Suketu met again at a family function. Since they were relatives, they were familiar with each other, and their old feelings reignited. Although Suketu had also married by then, his relationship with his wife was strained, and she had left for her parental home. When Suketu and Velsi met again 5 months before the murder, their old memories resurfaced. They exchanged numbers and began communicating on WhatsApp, rekindling their affair. Velsi forgot that she was now married with a daughter. Eventually, the desire to be together again grew stronger. Although Velsi could have divorced Dishiit and married Suketu, she didn't want to, fearing societal backlash and the potential loss of Dishiit's property. Velsi wanted both her old love Suketu and her husband's wealth. With this thought, Velsi and Suketu planned to eliminate Dishiit. Initially, they considered hiring hitmen to kill Dishiit, but worried that they might get caught. Suketu decided he would handle it himself, but needed help, so he involved his driver, Dayendra Singh Chauhan, in the plan. 2 days before the murder, they surveyed Dishiit's house. The area was busy, making a murder difficult, and Dishiit's relatives often visited the house. However, on June 24, 2016, Dishiit's family left for a trip to Mauritius. Coincidentally, on June 27th, Dishiit's relatives also left town, and that night, they executed the murder plan. Velsi kept her lover informed of every detail as events unfolded. Dishiit was brutally murdered that night. Dishiit and his family had no idea about Velsi's past affair. Velsi's family also shared some blame, as they had hidden her affair with Suketu from Dishiit's family. The police collected circumstantial evidence and more, such as CCTV footage from a nearby hotel where Suketu and Velsi used to meet, WhatsApp chats, clothes, gloves, and masks worn by Dayendra, among other things. They compiled a charge sheet against Velsi, Suketu, and Dayendra, and the trial began. The police gathered over 100 witnesses, and statements were recorded under Section 164. However, most witnesses retracted their statements in court. Even the auto driver who took Suketu and Dayendra to Sargam Society withdrew his statement in court. Only the police and the doctor who conducted the postmortem stood by their statements. Additionally, the owner of the bikers' hub from where Suketu purchased the mask and gloves did not change her testimony, stating that Suketu, a biking enthusiast, bought them for personal use. However, the court couldn't prove whether those items were purchased for the murder or personal use. With no direct eyewitnesses or evidence, the police also failed to prove that Suketu and Dayendra were the ones who entered the house that day, or that their intent was murder, not robbery. Since the CCTV footage did not show their faces, on December 31, 2019, the Session Court acquitted Velsi Jariwala, Suketu Modi, and Dayendra Singh Chauhan, giving them the benefit of the doubt. The purpose of sharing this story is not to hurt or trouble anyone, but to raise awareness and alertness. What are your thoughts on this incident? Please share your opinion in the comments. If you appreciate our effort, don't forget to like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Thank you.